real quick, do either of you want to say anything about the talks in Saudi, or do you want to just go straight to Doge?
Here's the one thing I'll just say. I think everybody, Dan's pointed this out about other things in terms of the Democratic response. So this is more of a world response. At the end of the day, everybody's losing the big picture here, which is the goal should be whether or not we are ending the bloodshed and ending the war in a realistic fashion. And I get at the end of the day, the Ukrainians will have to agree to any framework that's sustainable. So put that aside. If these guys can further through these talks peace and the end of killing, we should be for it. And everybody's worried about who's at the table and who's not. The bottom line is the goal should be, can we actually solve this in a peaceful way with the least amount of support to Russia or condoning the actions that they took? And it's so many people are worried about the process and not the end.
Yeah, I'll just
Amen. Dan?
Yeah, just kind of three quick things. I mean, one, it does appear the Europeans continue to be a complete mess. They had their emergency meeting, they're bickering, they didn't come to any sort of an agreement. So the idea that they should be at the table, it does kind of cause concern that they can't figure out what they're for and how they'll play a role. The second thing
it costs money to get to the table, and they need to look. For debt, if this isn't just about Ukraine, these guys haven't paid their NATO. Like, I feel
part of this is who's going to help defend Ukraine and enforce the peace. And it ultimately, I think, is going to have to be the Europeans, and that is causing consternation. The Poles are like, we have to defend our own border, and the Germans are very nervous about sending troops into parts of Europe. Just two quickly other things. It is unprecedented what we apparently asked of Ukraine to pay us back. I mean, it almost reeks of like the end of World War I, where it was like, listen, Germany, you are going to pay us basically a whole lot of money for a very long time. And this is an ally of ours that we are asking, for just substantial amounts of money in terms of resources back. Not usually how you treat your friends in a negotiation. We put a lot on the line for them, so certainly something coming back our way, but what we asked for was historic. And the second is this report that supposedly we are not just negotiating with the Russians on Ukraine, but we are also negotiating for things that we would like from Russians, like access to their oil markets. And if that is true, and it was in the Wall Street Journal, no, wide-eyed liberals, that is concerning. I mean, that is basically like we're negotiating for someone, they're not at the table. And oh, by the way, guys, what else can you do for us? Which would lead to the idea of, might we trade Ukraine away for our own interests? That's tough.